All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Chat episode 9. As always, joined with Ryan, Jordan, and we're here for the last dance, the last show, at
Well
least for the
said.
spring semester. And today we got a little bit to cover because we didn't have a show last week. We'll be talking about the NFL draft first, and then later talking about NBA playoffs, sprinkled with some NHL playoffs too. So let's first talk about the NFL draft, guys. Just happened last week. Always an exciting time, especially for your respective teams. Always fun seeing the newcomers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about first who you guys think won the draft. Now, me personally, I'm gonna agree with you, Ryan. You're gonna like what I have to say. I think the Jets definitely won the draft.
Yeah,
I think
I think the
great
Jets
decision.
won.
I think Sauce Gardner, like I've been watching film on him from Cincinnati. He is just an insane corner. I think he's super underrated. He's the reason Cincinnati was so good this year and made the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Is he Darrell Reeves 2.0?
Yeah, hopefully Revis Island. They'll make Sauce Island.
That'd be nice.
Sauce. That makes no sense. But anyway, I like Sauce Gardner. I thought that was a really good pick. And Jets. You guys have a young team, so it could be next year. Could honestly be very promising if everyone rises up a little bit. So I like the Jets draft.
Yeah, I mean the fourth round, the fourth overall pick with Sauce Gardner was great pick. Sauce Gardner, man, he did great stuff in college. I heard that he did not give up a touchdown in his entire college career.
Yeah,
that is an insane stat. Hopefully he continues in the NFL. That would be great. Lock up some really nice wide receivers. But even aside from that, like the 10th overall pick with Garrett Wilson, I mean the Wilson to Wilson connection might be something to consider. I mean the Jets have a pretty solid wide receiver core. I mean they got Elijah Moore last year in the draft, who showed sparks of a really great rookie season. And then now they have Garrett Wilson, and they also got Corey Davis. And, I mean, even Braxton Berrios was making a connection with Zach Wilson last year. And let's not forget, also in the first round, they got Jermaine Johnson late. He's an amazing defensive player. We'll see. I mean, obviously, we have to see with all the picks if they're going to do well in the NFL instead, because, obviously, there's busts all the time in the NFL draft. You never know. And along with the Jets, with the second-round pick with Breece Hall, I mean, they got the best running back in the draft class this year. And so, I mean, they got the best wide receiver, arguably the best wide receiver. I would say the best. They got the best cornerback, and they got the best running back, and they had another pick in the first. That's crazy. If you get 3 of the best positions possibly in the NFL draft, I mean, I'd say the Jets just won it overall.
I would agree with both of you guys. The Jets definitely won this draft. It's always so challenging to see as a general manager who those picks will either be great coming from college to the NFL or be the next bust. But like you said, the Jets picked solid, safe players. Ahmad Gardner could be the next Darrell Reeves for the Jets. That's my bold prediction, but it was a nice, safe pick. And then also with Garrett Wilson, the Wilson connection, as you mentioned, the wide receiver from Ohio State. I think those are 2 great picks for the Jets. The Jets are such a young team already, so they can only get better from here on out. So the Jets definitely won the draft, and I'm excited to see what the Jets have for the future.
Plus, another thing with Breece Hall, I saw a statistic that the NFL draft rankings for running backs of the last 6 years, the 99 overall projected draft rankings for running backs were Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, and Travis Etienne, and Breece Hall. So, I mean, we don't know what Travis Etienne is going to do because he hasn't played yet because he's been injured all last year. But the other 3, that's insane. Those are really great running backs.
It's nice that the Jets got their running backs so late in the draft too, towards the middle, so they didn't have to waste a high pick on a running back.
Yeah, and I was a little skeptical at first because the Jets have Michael Carter, who, I mean, sure, he's not the best running back in the game, obviously, but he showed really great stuff last year, great moves. He was really elusive, wasn't able to get tackled easily. But then I saw this statistic with Breece Hall and his great college rankings and such. And I don't know, I'm pretty hyped for him now.
Yeah. Hyping him up for sure. But
the Jets got every single offense. I was talking to Ryan about this before, but the Jets got every single offensive position except for their quarterback. So hopefully Zach Wilson can lead the newcomers and build up a great, solid offense for the Jets.
Yeah.
You guys still got Michael Carter too, and that guy.
Yeah,
Had a good season.
Michael Carter II, and Bryce Hall, actually. Bryce and Brees Hall.
No way. You got
Yeah,
the Hall
not
twins?
related, but
Not related, but they're both
Yeah.
Halls. So
The one thing about
Hall
Zach
bros.
Wilson though is that like if he can like limit his turnovers, it's a good pick for the Jets to have him as their quarterback. But I feel like he's not the future for the Jets.
Interesting take. I am okay with that prediction that you have there. I could see it going either way. If he makes leaps and bounds this year, he limited the turnover ratio in the second half of last year, but he didn't have like the yardage and the touchdowns to back it up. So like he was protecting himself and protecting the ball, but he didn't have a ton of yardage and touchdowns as well, which is needed in the NFL, obviously, for a team to be great.
It's like if you take one thing, you're going to give up the other thing.
Right, exactly. So it's really important to see what he does in this offseason. But the good thing is that like going from first to second year, you have so much more time with a team than going straight from college, like the draft, to a team, because the season ended in, well, I guess for the Jets, it ended in early January, late December, like the beginning of this year. So you have 6 months pretty much to work with your team. And I know you don't have like practices and stuff, but you can still review a ton of data and everything and still bond with other players. You're not like not seeing them for 6 months. So you have that 6 months. Whereas if you get drafted, you have 3 months, pretty much 3 or 4 months. Yeah, like 3 months. So you have a lot more time. And plus Zach Wilson already has that experience from last year that he can build on. So I think it's going to be great. I think that it could be really great for the Jets next year with Zach Wilson. We will have to see what he did in this offseason to prepare for next season, if he will be that great of a quarterback.
It's going to be very intriguing because there's no veteran offensive weapon that the Jets have that's like a standout player. The number one guy they're going to rely on is Zach Wilson entering his like second year, you said?
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how Zach Wilson adjusts from being a rookie to being the guy for the Jets offense.
True. And you just mentioned that they don't have really veteran experience. That is definitely true. They're the youngest team in the NFL last year. They did pick up Uzoma, the tight end from the Bengals, in this offseason. So he's kind of a veteran presence, but not really because he hasn't been with the Jets for a long time. They also have Corey Davis, who is more of a veteran than the other players, but not like a true veteran. But I think it's honestly, it's better in a way. I would prefer like one veteran presence, but I think it's better that the whole team is young because everyone's learning together and they're not like relying on one person to teach them everything.
The best thing the Jets did was not get Deebo Samuel.
I agree.
In my opinion.
Yep, I agree. They would have given up too much, and I'm glad that
They're such a young core that they don't need to go out and I feel like the Jets aren't ready for Deebo Samuel.
I agree.
Not saying that the Jets aren't good, but they're not ready for like spending all their money for this big player if the team's not going to produce. Yeah. So hopefully these rookies build up and then go take a big player.
It's not worth it at this point. Yeah. Good combo about the Jets though, guys. I know Ryan knows a lot about them. So
I do.
it was a good talk, but I think it would, this wouldn't be a valid NFL draft talk if we didn't mention the other New York, technically New Jersey, but we'll call them New York team, the New York Giants. I think both the Giants and the Jets had very good drafts. I think it was Kevin Thibodeau, the defensive end from Oregon, who they took, and Evan Neal, the offensive lineman. Exactly what the Giants needed, guys. I mean, the quarterback would have been nice, but there wasn't really a stud quarterback prospect this year. I mean, nobody. I mean, Kenny Pickett was probably the best guy, and obviously he was the first quarterback gone. But in a year where I think New York might have gone quarterback, like they didn't stretch, they didn't reach for any specific player. They took like the Jets strategy. They took the safe, reliable pick, and just bolster their offensive line, bolster their defense. I think the Giants had a really good first round too. But anyway, let's go on to the biggest steal of the draft, because now we talked about, I think we can all agree the Jets and the Giants, two big winners.
I would also say the Ravens had
did have a good draft.
Really good draft. Although, I don't know, do they have a wide receiver now?
They gave up Marquise. Yeah,
yep. Marquise Brown is now traded.
Another wide receiver finding a new home.
Yeah, and plus also AJ Brown with the Titans. He is now gone. So I don't know. There's some interesting trades that were made. The Titans, I think, just wanted to get rid of his salary.
There were so many trades and moves for wide receivers, except for the one wide receiver who wanted to move.
I know.
That that would make me so mad being Deebo Samuel. Like you want to trade and they just won't trade you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be interesting though to see Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray finally reuniting after the Oklahoma days.
Mm-hmm.
They had a solid connection when Kyler. That was the year Kyler won the Heisman too. Don't forget, and Marquise was the #1 receiver. So
Interesting.
Also, DeAndre
we'll see how
Hopkins,
it works.
I believe, is out.
Yep, he was
He- yeah,
suspended
he's
6
suspended.
games for
Mhm.
PED use.
Mm-hmm. He is appealing it, but
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
Do you guys think he did it? I think he did. Well, obviously something was in his system, so it's hard to refute that.
Yeah. Plus, I think they got AJ Green back, right?
Yeah, I think they did. I
Yes.
think they'll be.
The
okay.
Cardinals would be
Please, man.
fine.
Yeah. They
It'll
got a
be
good
fine.
wide
It
receiver.
would
core.
definitely help having one of the best wide receivers on the field for them, but
Mhm.
I think they'll be fine without DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah.
for the first couple of games.
Yep. And then once he returns, he'll just be even better.
Yeah.
So,
But
I
the
mean-
biggest steal would be, in my opinion, wide receiver George Pickens from Georgia going to the Steelers. The Steelers got him with the 52nd pick, and the Steelers need offensive help. And it's great that they got a wide receiver in the 52nd pick. Hopefully he stays off TikTok like Chase Claypool and former Juju Smith-Schuster and works on the field. But I think this is a great pick for the Steelers.
the Steelers stole that one. Is that what you're saying? That is an okay pick for me. It's fine. Whatever. I personally think that the biggest steal was Malik Willis
Mm-hmm.
coming out of Liberty, going to the Titans. I mean, he was projected a first-round pick, and he was not picked. And I personally thought that he had the greatest potential coming out of this draft because he's got a great arm. And I know a lot of people don't really care about this, but personally, I believe in like character and people who are going to stay out of trouble. And I feel like Malik Willis is that type of person who's going to stay out of trouble. Like I saw a video of him. He was not like, there was no public. Well, there was someone who was filming him, but he didn't know he was being filmed allegedly, but whatever. But he was just like, there was a homeless guy and he just like went up to him and gave him food and like paid for his meal and everything. And I mean, that means a lot to me because it's going to mean that he's probably going to stay out of trouble in the future and he'll be like loyal. And character is just like such a good thing. It's good in the locker room. People
It's
are going
great
to like
on
him.
and off the field.
Great on and off the field. Exactly. So plus you combine that with the great talent that he has. And I think he's going to be a great quarterback. It's perfect for the Titans because they just got rid of AJ Brown and they don't have like amazing wide receivers now. They also don't have Julio Jones anymore. But they are going to progress with maybe a new quarterback this year. Maybe in the future he might not play this year. We're not
He
sure.
probably
really.
won't. It's going to be Tannehill, still the starter.
It'll be Tannehill. But if Tannehill doesn't do too well, like he definitely did not carry them in the playoffs last year.
Oh, he was solid during the year, but you're right.
The whole
playoffs,
offense is Derrick Henry.
Oh, playoffs,
Yeah.
he's just a bad performer in the playoffs. And I think, sorry to interrupt you a little bit,
go
but
ahead.
I was reading something about Ryan Tannehill said for next year. He doesn't think it's his job to like mentor him, which I guess is true. That's like the Brett Favre treatment to Aaron Rodgers way back when. Because obviously he feels certain his job's getting taken. But from a football standpoint, it's obvious to see like Tannehill didn't perform in the playoffs. I'm not going to call him a bad quarterback. Like he's a solid starting quarterback, but he's just, not the #1 seed out of the AFC, and just for them to lose first round is not what you want to see. So I like the pick too.
That was my biggest steal.
Yeah. Nice. I think my biggest steal, I forgot who he went to, but Nakobe Dean, linebacker from Georgia. Because I remember when the Packers took Quay Walker in the first round, a lot of people thought Nakobe Dean was going to go.
Georgia had so many players drafted in this year's draft.
Packers took 3 straight Georgia players in the first round past 2 years. They took Eric Stokes last year, cornerback. And then this year they took Quay Walker. And then I forgot who the defensive tackle's name is. But they got another defensive tackle from Georgia. But yeah, Nakobe Dean. I forgot which team he went to.
Was it Devontae Wyatt?
The Eagles.
I think so. Yeah.
Was it Devontae Wyatt?
That sounds right. I think.
Or Jonathan Ford. Those are like the two.
Yeah, you'd think I'd know who my team chose. I'm more excited about Christian Watson, guys. I can't lie. Defensive linemen are great, but Christian Watson was the good pick for the Packers. But I thought Nakobe Dean was a steal because people are saying he was going to go early first round, and I think he went like
was the team.
Eagles. Yeah, he went late second to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was definitely a first round talent. A lot of people saw him as the best linebacker on Georgia. Personally, I think Quay Walker is like more developed for the NFL now. And obviously with Aaron Rodgers, Packers are in a win now mode, so they don't really want to look to develop a rookie. They're just filling big needs of a team. So
I would say another big steal for me is that the Vikings got Andrew Booth who was a former 5-star recruit from Clemson, and he's a cornerback, and the Vikings need cornerback help. So it was a great pickup for the Vikings to get him with number 42, a former 5-star recruit at cornerback. So I'm excited to see how he can help us for next season.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about the Giants, you said it perfect that this was a safe draft for them. So I really don't know what's going to happen with them because their quarterback situation. I mean,
They didn't extend Daniel
They did
Jones.
not-
I think this is going to be his last year. Like
I
they
think
didn't pick
Daniel
up his
Jones is not the
option or something.
answer.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, at this point, it's like
Come on, like yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
he's been the quarterback for like 3 straight years now.
Every Giants fan
Three.
keeps on saying, "Oh, like he's gonna be better next year. He's gonna be better next year,"
Yeah.
and it's just gonna be every single next
Well,
year
it's
until
next
he's
year,
not.
so
Yeah.
where is he?
No, I think at this point, like they don't do well, they got to start looking.
Plus, they got Tyrod Taylor in this offseason. So, I mean, I would make that argument that if Tyrod Taylor is going to start, well, I don't know if he'll start right away, but if he does, I would say he's a better quarterback already. So, I think the Giants made really smart decisions to start like building that core. They got an offensive lineman and a defensive player in their first couple picks, the 5th and 7th, I think, were their picks this year. They were 2 in the top 10. That's what I know. And I think they're really adding to their like core. Their offensive line is much needed. The Giants had a terrible offensive line last year. And that's part of the reason why people make the argument for Daniel Jones is that he didn't have any protection. And he would just like cough up the ball and would not make smart decisions because he didn't have any protection, which is fair. That's a fair argument. So I think with these picks, they are building up the opportunity to get a quarterback next year in the draft. I don't think they're going to make any runs this year. They could tank
The Giants
this
are
year.
playing for the future.
Yeah, they're playing for the
100%.
future. And that's a smart move, I would say, right now, because they don't have a quarterback.
It's
And
smart for
yeah.
them to bolster both their offensive line and defensive line because I feel like that's where it starts on both offense and defense. It's the line, like number one.
And like I said, this year was definitely not the year of quarterbacks. It was not the year to reach for any single quarterback. You know, like Kenny Pickett just fell into the Steelers' lap, which is why that pick is. You know, he stays in Pittsburgh. It's a perfect match. I'm excited to see how Kenny Pickett does, by the way. But I think the Giants just played it safe. They didn't want to reach for any player. They didn't want to reach for a quarterback. So those have to hopefully build up those rookies this year while suffering with Daniel Jones, and
yeah,
we'll see where they go from there. But I believe that's all the justice we want to do the NFL draft. I don't have any other.
I could go on
words.
a 40-minute Vikings rant.
Oh, I could go on a Packer rant too. How I love our draft. Our draft was
terrible.
terrible.
I mean, I thought we got Spielman out, and Spielman is known for trading his draft picks every single draft. So we get this new general manager, Kwesi, and I'm like, he's got the 12th pick. I want to see what he does, right? Like Kyle Hamilton's right there. He trades back with the Detroit Lions. He goes after with the number 32 pick, Louis Sain, which could be a safe pick. But then our second round, we get an injury-prone player, Andrew Booth. But Andrew Booth has upside. Like I was saying, he was a 5-star recruit. So I want to see like how he does. But the injury-prone kind of scares me. And then in the third round, still in the second round, we picked up Ed Ingram, who's been arrested before. And like what Ryan was saying, it's all about character for me as well, like on and off the field. So if he stays out of
sticky situations,
maybe he can help our team. But I just don't like that pick because of his past. So I just feel like the Vikings had a decent draft, but it wasn't what I wanted them to do at all.
Yeah,
but they did help their defensive side, which was a plus with the cornerbacks and the safeties. But it just wasn't what I wanted them to do at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, like for the Packers, I'm super happy we got a receiver. I was sick of getting roasted on the internet for it, but we got a solid receiver. And plus, the Packers make really good second-round receiver picks. I think it was Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, all picked in the second round, and now we're adding Christian Watson. So his speed's promising. The drops are a concern, especially with the college football, because that football is smaller than the NFL ball. But hopefully training camp, they can just drill into him catches, because that was a problem we had with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. But his speed's killer. I think it was his comparison was Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And that kind of made me a little more disappointed than it should have. But I like Christian Watson. I think he definitely fits the Packers scheme well.
The Packers did good because they helped Aaron Rodgers with these new young wide receivers.
Now,
so. Yeah, and then it came out. You guys know Aaron Rodgers didn't think Devontae was leaving. He said on the Pat McAfee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't think Devontae was leaving.
Interesting.
So does he sign the deal if he thinks Devontae's staying? or if he thinks Devontae's leaving. Like, I don't
Doesn't
know.
matter. He's in the deal now.
Yeah. Now he's locked in and
He's
got him
stuck.
forever. Aaron can never leave.
Mhm.
No, but we'll have a good year. I think I'm gonna respect Jordan on this one because I do actually think this. The NFC North is gonna be. It's going to be a good battle between the Packers and Vikings. I think we both think our team's going to win the division. And when you have that kind of year, it's exciting. You know,
I'm going to go Lions. I'm just kidding.
Oh. I mean, if Goff has an insane year, they could.
I personally think the Lions could do okay.
I think the Lions can do better than the Bears. I will say that.
Yeah, I agree.
The Lions got so much hate because they started out so poorly, but towards the end of the season, they finished strong. So they could come out of the gate.
Yep, they just got a new wide receiver.
Was it Jamison Williams?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
That's right, from Alabama, and he's a pretty solid wide receiver. And I don't know. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. I mean, they put up a ton of points in the last 2 games, like 30-something points in both games. Yeah. So I mean, if they can pick that up again, you never know what's going to happen with them. They could just beat some random teams, like the Jets last year when they beat the Bengals and they beat the Titans.
It's crazy. It's
So,
crazy.
You never know.
I would say my favorite pick for the Vikings was Ty Chandler with the 169th pick, running back out of North Carolina. Call me crazy on that one, but he's a speedster. We have Alexander Madison, Dalvin Cook. Madison's entering free agency next year, so it's nice to have those guys who can teach the young running back. And hopefully he can, because all the running backs go later towards the draft. So hopefully this one's like a hidden gem for the Vikings.
Yeah, you never know with the draft. Some people work really hard, and like Tom Brady was not drafted 199, 2nd, or 3rd, or anything. So you never know what's gonna happen.
You never know.
Yeah,
it could be some late round blue. I mean, Cooper Kupp was undrafted, so like.
Adam Thielen was undrafted.
Tony Romo was undrafted.
There's a lot of people who don't get drafted and make a name for themselves.
Like you never know. Yeah, you never know. So anyone can be
true.
So, but it's nice to speculate. Obviously, the first round draft picks have more of a chance of doing better.
Right, yeah. But and before we move on from the NFL draft, I'd just like to say, like, I loved watching this draft. And it was pretty crazy because they had the lowest amount of teams picking in the first round. They only had 22 teams. I believe it was 22 was the number, which is crazy. That's like 10 teams not picking in the first round. Yeah. And I mean, I love it because it's like all kinds of trades and everything happening with like AJ Brown got traded, Marquise Brown got traded, the Browns. And I mean, you had a ton of pre-draft trades as well. And it was just great. I mean, I especially loved it because the Jets had 3 first-round picks. But if I was a team that didn't have a pick, I would not like this draft. But I loved it. Jets fan.
It was a solid draft. Great draft for the Jets. Pretty good draft for the Packers. Terrible draft for the Vikings. But it was a good draft overall, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, perfect. So NFL draft overall solid. We'll see how the players pan out. But now talking about recent or current, I guess gameplay. NBA playoffs, second round is underway, guys. Let's first start in the East. Miami up 2-0 on Philly. I got Miami in like.
I got Miami at 5.
I got Miami without Embiid. I got Miami in 5. I think they look really good. Tyler Hero, 6th man of the year, totally deserving. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I love Bam. Even Kyle Lowry's been out too.
Bam is playing so good since Embiid's out. He's just dominating.
Yeah, so I think the Heat this year they'll make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals since they made it there during the bubble, and we'll see who they match up against. I'm not gonna pick a dog in this fight because I cannot jinx my team with the Bucks and Celtics, but I will say I have a feeling it's gonna go to 7. I have a feeling
Bucks Celtics. Yeah.
Game 1, it looked like the Bucks were dominating, which they did because Drew locked up Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum. Game 2, Boston killed them.
It was like 20-point games both times.
Tatum scored 29 points. Yeah.
And Boston shot insane from the 3-point line. But we'll see how it pans out in Milwaukee. All I will say is Boston's got to win 1 in Milwaukee. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to come back. You really got to win 1 in Milwaukee. That's what. And as a Bucks fan, before you guys make your predictions, I'll just say I was happy that we needed to take 1 in Boston. Like, I felt like last game was definitely. I think I was telling you guys this earlier. Like last game 2, I think Boston killed us just because that was a must-win game. Like they had to take 1 at home. So I'm not too worried about that. I think it's going to be a dogfight of a series, though. People were saying it was Bucks and 4, Bucks and 5. I was just stop it, guys. Like, it's going to be a good series. So
both are great teams.
Yes.
It's always great when you can go into like away and take one game from the 2-game series when you're in the playoffs. So the Bucks were able to split one game apiece with the Celtics. I have the Celtics in 7. Chris Middleton's return will be very interesting to see what happens. But the Celtics defense, amazing. Jaylen Brown scored 30 points in game 2. Al Horford, 11 points, 11 rebounds. Celtics have great players, and if they just continue to play how they play and just try and shut down the Bucks like they've been doing, Giannis is still a major X factor. So I want to see what happens, but I got the Celtics in 7.
I also think the Celtics are going to win either in 7 or 6. I'm not sure. But I think I said this in the last radio show, but I felt that the Celtics were going to play their best series against the Nets. And that's just because they had to try so hard on defense against like KD and Kyrie and among other players. And I think what happened in that first game is they were expecting an easier matchup and they just failed, honestly. And I mean, the Nets were not a great defensive team. So when the Bucks were able to defend them so well, they weren't able to score. So they lost by like 20, 25 points, I think. And then they realized like, oh man, we got to step it up here. So they came out roaring and they beat the Bucks by 20 points. So I think the Celtics have now figured it out a little bit better that they actually need to try again like they did in the Nets series. But I feel like they will have their hardest. They already have played their hardest basketball against the Nets. I think the Nets were a harder opponent. I'm not saying the Nets are a better team than the Bucks, but I think the Nets are a harder opponent than the Bucks because of that crazy offense and how much they had to do on defense. But with Chris Middleton, it might change everything. Like if the Bucks offense can produce they have games where Chris Middleton will just like pop off and score like 45 points. So you never know what's going to happen with the Bucks. But I think that the Celtics are just a better team. Like Jason Tatum is very consistent. Jaylen Brown is very consistent. I would say pretty consistent, except for game 1, they didn't do too hot. But I think they just weren't prepared. I think Celtics will win this series and lose the next series, but we'll go on to that later.
I like your point how the Celtics overlooked the Bucks game 1 because they came off the sweep against the Nets. They were probably feeling like overconfident, and they went against the Bucks without Chris Middleton, and they just didn't play as hard as they wanted to. So that's why game 2 they were able to win so easily, in my opinion. But I feel like the Bucks have the chemistry and they've already like won the championship last year, so they have the experience too, more than the Celtics. But the Celtics are a much better, more complete team, in my opinion, than the Bucks are. So I want to see what happens.
We'll
Should
see.
be
Just
interesting.
know I'm roasting you guys if the Bucks win. But no, those are good. Those are very valid takes, especially without Middleton. Like I will agree. It's tough for me to see the Bucks winning the series, but I will say back to that MVP discussion we were having. I know Jokic is probably going to win this year, but if Giannis can come out of this without Middleton beating a really tough Celtics team, man, I mean that's just got to cement his legacy even more. Like this second championship run is going to be way tougher than the first because everyone's coming at Milwaukee. Everyone's
Giannis is overhyped.
Overhyped. We'll see. We still got a lot of series left, but. Yeah, we'll see if the Bucks wake up in Milwaukee. It seems like they always do. It seems like especially last year, like the first couple of games, they always drop. I was surprised they won game 1 actually because we always stink in game 1. It's so annoying. But yeah, without Middleton, like I don't know, it's gonna be tough. Someone else has got to step up. Like I think against the Bulls, Grayson Allen really stepped up, and now we just got to see like Drew Holiday's he can't have a single bad game. Same with Giannis had a really bad game last game, so that's why we just got decimated. But
Giannis has to play like LeBron. With the 2015-2016 when Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving got hurt, and it was just him against the Warriors. That's what Giannis has to do against the Celtics. If Giannis does that, then Giannis earned my respect if he comes out of the Celtics series with the win.
Yeah. I'm nervous for the series though. Like I don't want to make any predictions. That's why. So I'll just say it's going to be a good series that will probably go to 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7 is for me, but I think the Celtics are going to come out and they're going to lose to the Heat, who I think will win the series over the 76ers. I mean, the 76ers, great team, but like the Heat, they got that defense and offense. Like same like the Celtics. Like when they compete, sorry, that was bad language. If they compete, then it'll just be a great showdown between offense and defense. Because I think the Heat are just a better Celtics team, personally. But like they're both great. And then I don't know. We'll see what happens in the finals. But
The Sixers, it's tough for them because they don't have Embiid, and then Bam Adebayo is just dominating in the paint. So until they get Embiid back, I can see them being swept even by the Heat because the Heat are just that good of a team with Jimmy Butler, Bam, Tyler Hero off the bench. They're just dominating the Sixers right now. And Harden's trying his best, but he hasn't had he only had a 20-point game and a 16-point game. I feel like the Sixers definitely need more production from James Harden.
Yeah, and I mean Tyrese Maxi, he's coming off a great season, and
Maxi's going off.
yeah, and I love him. He's really great. He's kind of like a Emmanuel Quickley if you're a Knicks fan. That's how I feel about him. He's a better, I would say, Emmanuel Quickley, but I love Emmanuel Quickley. He's my favorite player. Derrick Rose is probably my favorite player on the Knicks, but anyway,
Second-round pick stud. I love
yeah,
Quickley,
of course, yeah, Quickley's great.
We're talking about the playoffs.
Yes, my bad, Jordan.
They were there last
They
year.
were there last
Hardly.
year. Yeah, all right. Yeah. You know what?
I'm sorry. We were both
Sorry,
by the
we'll
Bucks
talk
and
about them
Warriors.
next year when they're in the playoffs.
No, I want
Yeah.
the Knicks to do good, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully. It's just Julius Randle didn't have a good year.
Yeah,
It's
I
okay.
agree.
It's okay.
Aside from the Knicks, anyway, Tyrese Maxi, great player. He's so offensively skilled and defense. I mean, he's like a really quick player, and I mean, he's stepped up for sure in these playoffs and this season. But I want to see him step up more, like become, I don't know, the number one option, or not number one, number two, I guess, to Joel Embiid maybe. I mean, I know Harden is there, obviously.
Maxi did score 34 points in game 2, but if you want him to score like 40 points,
I mean, that would be
that
great.
would be wild.
No, I'm not saying he has not stepped up, and he's been amazing.
You want him to be like,
but I would love for him to drop like 40 something points in the next game.
I think he could personally.
I think he could too. He's a streaky player, I'd say.
He definitely needs to step up even more than he's already been stepping up if the Sixers want to win at least 2 games this series. If that's what you're like saying, that like he needs to like step up like even more, because with Embiid out, it's just Harden and then Maxi.
Yeah.
So it's really challenging for the Sixers.
No, definitely no hate towards Maxi. Great player. He's already stepped up. I'm just saying I would love to see him do better. Do even better. That's better terminology. But I don't know. We'll see if they can hold off against. I don't think they can. I got Heat in 5. I'll give the 76ers 1 game.
Yeah. The Eastern Conference is so much harder than the Western Conference, in my opinion, this year. Because those 4 teams could easily win the championship.
Yeah, and they were all within 1 game of each other in the regular season, which is crazy. That's we talked about this in the last show, but like the East was just so great this year. Usually it's that West team or the Western Conference, but the East was just so great. It's so competitive. We'll see what happens. I think the East is coming out this year, personally.
Yeah, me too. So there's our East combo. Let's talk about the West. So let's go Grizzlies, Warriors.
This series is so like bittersweet for me right now because I love the series, but I just want the Warriors to sweep the Grizzlies right now because game 2 was so chippy with the Dylan Brooks foul on Gary Payton. Like Dylan Brooks would be ejected and fined for that foul. It was so early in the game and it was like uncalled for. And then seeing Draymond Green get elbowed in the eye and then just the fans like booing him and everything, and then Draymond Green getting fined for. I mean, he did deserve to get fined for. I think he flipped off the fans or something. So
he didn't care.
Draymond's
It was
bad. Yeah. Never forget that Steven Adams incident.
Steven Adams,
Draymond's had it
James.
coming. I'll give him. But it's dirty. It shouldn't happen.
It's a chippy series, but I love it because Ja Morant is so good for the Grizzlies. But if we can stop Ja Morant, I don't think the Grizzlies have another player who can pick up the pace like Ja Morant can and dominate like he can. Like
I agree.
They have Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson Jr. who's really good for them. But if they stop Ja Morant, then they can stop the whole Grizzlies team.
Yes, but no, because I'm still gonna bring back that stat from earlier in this year, and I know I keep flaunting it around, but like they had a better record, they had a better percentage of wins without Ja Morant than they did with him. So like the team can step up when they need to, and will they be able to do that in the playoffs? I don't know because we haven't seen it yet. But based on the regular season, they would be able to. So everyone really kind of steps up when Ja Morant isn't able to be there, and that's just like a great team spirit, and I love it.
Yeah.
But going to this series,
it's like the next man up.
Right, exactly, yeah. But going to this series, I don't like the chippiness but I also kind of do like the chippiness. I don't like the acts of the chippiness and everything and people just being violent towards each other.
Yeah.
But I do love the competition that everyone is bringing out in this series because, I mean, both games came down to the wire. I mean, they were just so great to watch. I mean, the Warriors came out on top by 1 point I think it was 1 point in the first game. And then the Grizzlies, again, came down to the wire. And then John Morant just went off.
Ja Morant, 47 points.
47 points. I think he scored the last 13 points for the Grizzlies in the end of the game. So, I mean, I love seeing the competition so great. And I just love this series. I think whoever comes on top in this series will go to the playoff or the finals.
I agree. Ja Morant, 47, multiple 45-point game in the playoffs before turning 23 years old, which is insane.
Yep.
So I give all the credit to Ja Morant. I think it's a bad look for him getting not a bad look, but I feel like it's what's the word? Like it's like the league is not giving him the respect he deserves for being most improved player because I feel like he's already up there as a superstar.
Fair enough. I can get that. That's why I didn't think he should have won most improved player.
I feel like most improved should be like for a player that's not a big name and made a big name for himself.
Even though I argued against it, I would argue for it that he wasn't this superstar last year. Like he was not going to score 47 points. He might have in like 1 or 2 games, but he was not this good last year. And I mean, I guess that's what you're going for with most improved. You're just how much better you get in 1 year. So I would argue for it and against it in that way. So I don't really know how I do feel with him getting the most improved. I am fine with it, but I could have seen it going either way with him getting it or without him getting it.
Yeah, with Ja too, like I get nervous about the way he plays. You know, he's like so high flying, like so high to the rim. I just think of a young Derrick Rose and how exciting that was. But obviously, you know, if you're driving to the rim all the time, you know, that ACL, I don't know.
You're gonna get hurt.
So it's like
I would consider him the most athletic player in the league.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's certain players that are just so injury prone. And I mean, you can do the same thing as other players and just not get injured. Like I have some friends that will just they're not even athletic like players or of a sport or anything, but they'll just hit their head and they'll get a concussion. And then they'll like I'm speaking of one specific person right now, but she broke her one leg doing dance and then she closed the door on her foot and broke her other leg. And then she was getting into her car and got a concussion. Like,
this is unlucky.
But some players are just like that. They just are so injury prone. Like Derrick Rose is that type of player. He's been injured so much in his career. And I mean, there's all
Curry with the ankle.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like before the ACL though, Derrick Rose was fine. Like all it takes is that one bad landing, and then it's like that's what happened with D Rose. Yeah, like Ja could just land really bad one time. I think he did.
That's what happened with Klay Thompson too. Klay Thompson tore his ACL, and then I think when he was trying to go back for the past season, he tore his ACL just practicing going into the season.
He was out for two years, and that was. But some players are just injury prone. Ja Morant really hasn't shown yet that he is injury prone, but like Ethan was just saying, Derrick Rose didn't look like that either until he did get an injury. So you really don't know, but it is definitely dangerous, like Jordan said, to see him going up for layups. Like he's so athletic, but he's always jumping around. He's so energetic. He could easily get an injury and then be out.
Yeah, exactly.
Ja, just his stats. Game 1, 34 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. Game 2, 47 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. He's the number one reason why this series is so intense right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's all Ja. Yeah. But predictions, I got Warriors in 6. I'll go 6.
Yeah, I have Warriors in 6.
I got Grizzlies in 6. No, I'll go Grizzlies in 7. Yeah.
Grizzlies in 7.
Yeah.
Jordan, you got some.
Got some beef.
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies are just, although the Warriors have that like more star power, I think the Grizzlies are just an overall better team with a lot of depth. So that's how I feel personally.
That's fair. I think
you said the Grizzlies have more depth.
Yes, I would say the Grizzlies have more depth.
Jordan
not
Poole.
name players.
Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins.
Yes, not
Draymond
like
Green, Curry, Andre Iguodala when he comes back.
Okay, yes, I will give you
James
that.
Wiseman.
But
I can just go on and on.
I know what you're saying.
Gary Payton.
I do understand what you're saying. But the Warriors, the thing with the Grizzlies is that they have a lot of unknown players. Not unknown, but like a lot less known than the Warriors. Because the Warriors have been a team forever that have been a really good team. And I mean, Steph Curry is a household name. Like almost everyone knows who he is. And Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they're all amazing. And plus, you got a lot of highlights this year with some other players like Jordan Poole, and like he really went off this year. But people are seeing them. But the people didn't really see the Grizzlies aside from Ja Morant because he was stealing all of that. So nobody really knows who the other players are on the Grizzlies. I mean, obviously people do know, but a lot of people like a generic sports fan or a generic NBA fan is not going to know as many players on the Grizzlies than they do on the Warriors, likely. But that doesn't mean they're better. That does not mean the Warriors are better.
I can see your point, and to back up your point, when Ja Morant was not on the court, they were still a great team.
Right, exactly.
So they're not like no names, but they're not huge superstar names like the Warriors have.
Right.
Like Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson, like the Grizzlies players can step up when they need to.
And I definitely do understand your point with great star power is it's easier to think that they could win a game because of, but like you can go to the Nets. I mean, Kyrie and KD. I mean, obviously they don't have the depth and they have flaws with like their defense and everything like that. But like that's really crazy big star power against the Celtics, who do have star power. They do have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and among other players like Marcus Smart. But they weren't as they don't have as much star power as the Nets did, and the Celtics won that series. I mean, I would say even the Heat right now, I would say they don't have as like Joel Embiid and James Harden alone is probably more star power than the Heat team, even though but the Heat are a better team, I would say, in my opinion. So I don't think it really depends on the star power.
It just depends on how they play.
It just depends on how they play. So, and I mean, the Memphis did better in this regular season than the Warriors did.
It's so tough to bet against Golden
This is
State.
why this series is going to be so good, though, because so many players on both teams are so good that it's going to be a series that comes down to the wire. But I got to go with my Warriors in 6.
Yeah. And like we'll talk about with the Suns-Mavs series, like it's just so tough to bet against Golden State. Like, they're proven, like Phoenix, they don't have Booker, but they're still proven.
Well, they do have Booker now.
Oh, he came back?
Yes.
Booker came back,
yeah.
Well, I'm misinformed. Jeez. I didn't hear any headline about that. That's my fault. But yeah, stinks. I thought he was going to be out the same amount as Middleton. Nope. Bucks got snubbed there. Thanks, Chris. No. But yeah, I think yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think championship DNA just shows, and like the Warriors have been like Draymond, Klay, Steph. They've all been together for so long. I mean, even Iggy in the depth of the bench, like it's going to be tough to beat a team like that.
Although I didn't like Draymond Green's actions, I liked how he's showing me glimpses of how he was playing in the playoffs when they made all those runs. Yeah, he's so like aggressive and like into it right now. So that's just like a good sign for me watching the games.
Yeah, and I love the aggressiveness of both teams, but I don't know. I think the Grizzlies will come out of this series, but man, it's going to be a great series, and I can't wait to keep watching. But going on to the Suns series, Suns-Mavs, I don't think...
The Suns are just dominating.
The Suns are dominating.
And that's why I got Suns going to the finals, because this next series, like the last series, like we were talking about Grizzlies-Warriors, is just they're going to beat each other up too much. I think Phoenix is going to come out of this. Booker's, I'm not saying he's rested, because obviously he was injured, but his body did get rest while he was injured, and they still went through the series.
Booker came back and was playing pretty good. Like in game 1, he got 23 points, 8 assists, and 9 rebounds. And then in game 2, he had 30 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds.
Yeah, so I think that's the rest he needed.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I don't think the Mavs are going. I would love to see the Mavs come back and win this series, because I love Chris Paul, but I don't like the Suns. I don't like Devin Booker. And I really hope the Mavs come back and win the series, but I don't think they can. They don't have that star power. Or not star power. Sorry, that was the wrong term, because I just went against star power in the last.
They don't have
game. They don't have enough
team.
talent in general. I think the Suns are just a much better team than the Mavericks in this series, and I could see the Suns going like sweeping.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I feel bad for Luka though, because Luka scored 45 points in game 1, 12 rebounds and 8 assists. Luka is so good for the Mavericks, and you can make a point for Luka like Giannis with the Bucks. Luka is the Mavericks. Like, why the Mavericks are doing so good is because of Luka Doncic, and while the Bucks are doing so good, it's because of Giannis.
Yeah.
So Luka, like, I feel like he deserves to be on a better team.
Although, when Luka was hurt in the last series, they won. I
Mhm.
think they went 1-1 without him. I
Yeah.
believe I could be wrong on that stat for sure, but I'm quite certain that they won at least one game without Luka. So, but that was last series. It was a different series.
Especially
Mhm.
with like John Luca, I think about. Have you guys ever seen that Greg Jennings thing where he broke his leg?
Oh yeah.
The Madden thing, putting the team on his
Mhm.
back though.
Mhm.
Like that's how I think about that. Have you ever seen that, Ryan?
No, I have not.
Oh, I'll show you after. It's so funny, but that's like what I think about, because I feel like they've got a good supporting cast behind them, but they're just like Luka's just a stud. Jaw's just a stud. Like you can't name the second best player on the Grizzlies, really. I mean, it's just a concept.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, but like
Steven
it's
Turns
Adams.
out, yeah.
like the gap. I think what I'm trying to say is like the gap between like Luka
Mhm.
and the rest of the Mavs and John and the rest of the Mavs is huge. Like I know Giannis is carrying too, but like Drew's not bad. I think that the gap is closer or more narrow than
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
two. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm like they putting the team on their back though. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So going on from that series, so are we all in agreement that the Suns are winning this series?
yes,
Okay.
I think Suns in 5.
Suns
Suns
in
are
or
5.
I'll
Maybe
say
even
Suns
the
in
Suns.
I think
sweep.
I'll give Dallas 1. But
Okay, that's fine.
probably most.
So we're all in agreement that they're gonna breeze kind of through this.
Mhm.
So going on to the next series, you guys would have Warriors versus Suns. I have Grizzlies versus Suns. I think the Grizzlies can beat the Suns, and I know that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's right.
If the
It
Grizzlies
is.
can beat this Warriors team and John Morant plays amazing, and all the Grizzlies players step up, then they can easily beat them. Not easily, but they could beat the Suns.
I think the Grizzlies are just such a great team all around, and they're young. I'll give you that. They're young. They're a very young team, but they still have that like veteran with Steven Adams, who's like a great.
Steven Adams.
I love Steven Adams.
Best center in the league.
He's a great leader, I would say, with this young team, and they've got like a ton of talent. And I think I don't know. I'm just betting against the Suns at this point because I just don't like them. But I would love
Some
to see Chris
bias?
Paul.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I would love to see Chris Paul get a ring, but I don't want to see Devin Booker get one. So it's a tough draw. But I think the Grizzlies could beat the Suns. And I think they're just more like a more athletic team. And there's another thing that I would say. So the Grizzlies, I think, will win in like 6 or 7 games. I would say 7 games against the Warriors. So they're not going to have that rest going into that series, like I would assume the Suns will, after probably winning it in 4 or 5 games. So you would think that the rest could definitely help the Suns, but I feel like coming off a win very recently is more beneficial to momentum than coming off a win from a week ago. Like we watched it in the NFL playoffs, the Packers and the Titans.
That's why it's so hard for like the NFL.
Exactly. They lost in their first games.
Yeah.
And the teams that beat them were teams coming off a win from the previous week. And sure, NFL is definitely different from the NBA. But I feel like that momentum could carry a team, at least for the first couple of games. If you start getting on a winning streak, then it's kind of over for the other team unless you give up a 3-1 lead or 3-0 lead, like a couple teams in the past.
Like some specific teams in the finals.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan. Hey, you guys are great though.
No, but I could see the Suns losing because I'll go back to my point with I thought the Pelicans were going to beat the Suns in the first round, and the Pelicans put up a really good fight against the Suns. Took them to 6 games. And if the Pelicans can do that, so why can't the Grizzlies do that? I feel like the Grizzlies could beat the Suns.
Booker was out.
If the Warriors are there, the Warriors would sweep the Suns. That is my hot take.
That's my thing though. It's like Booker was out. That's why I got the Suns in 6. Like they're back to full power again. Like
Suns in 6 over the Warriors. Is that what you're saying? Or it's Suns in 6 in this series?
Ooh, over the Warriors. That's tough. No, that'll be Suns in 7.
Suns in 7.
I'll say Suns in 7. That's gonna be a good one though. I want to see that too.
Do you guys think?
Conference.
Do you guys think Suns Bucks championship?
I can't
repeat.
I'm not jinxing the Bucks. I'm not jinxing the Bucks.
No, I think Grizzlies Heat.
Grizzlies Heat.
What do you think, Jordan? I'll go Suns versus Eastern Conference champion.
I'll go.
Fair enough.
I'm very superstitious. I can't jinx my team.
Oh, I don't care if I jinx my team. It's gonna be the Warriors against the Celtics. Warriors are gonna win.
I got Heat over Grizzlies, even though I'd love to see the Grizzlies win with this young team. But I think the Heat. I think they're gonna go on a run, like the Bengals did this year. Young team, young talent, kind of not came out of nowhere, but they kind of did come out of nowhere after coming off of a bad season. Made it to the championship, and they lost in the Super Bowl. But I think the Grizzlies are going to do that similar thing where they're going to get to the NBA Finals and then not be able to keep up against the Heat, because as much as the Memphis Grizzlies are an athletic team, I think the Heat are the most athletic team in the NBA, and they were the other year against the Lakers when they lost. They made it to the championships that year. They were a young team, very athletic, great on defense, but the Lakers were just better. I think the same thing is with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are the Heat from 2 years ago. The Grizzlies can make that run, make it to the championships, but they're going to lose to the Heat, who are just a great defensive team. I feel like they could lock up. I mean, not completely lock up, but I feel like they could lock up John Morant to an extent to win games, and I feel like that's what will happen. So I got Heat over Grizzlies in 6.
We all have different teams in the finals.
I've got. If the Suns make the finals, I have the Suns winning. If any other Western Conference team makes the finals, I've got whichever Eastern Conference team makes the finals winning. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if the Suns make the finals, I think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to lose 2 years in a row. I think they're going to refuse. You saw Booker after the Bucks beat him last year. Oh, great sight. He was all mad, but I think the Suns are going to come back with a vengeance this year. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And Jordan, you said Warriors over.
I say Warriors over Celtics. Celtics have the defense.
Yeah.
I could see the Heat going or the Bucks. But I say
let's go.
Yeah, honestly, like we're so.
I think any team can go except for the Sixers. Sorry, Philadelphia, but I can see the Celtics going, the Heat, and the Bucks. Yeah, and sorry, Mavs, but the Mavs just don't have the talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and I love these NBA playoffs because of we all have different teams. Like we have 3 different teams.
Nobody knows
from both the
NFC,
not the NFC, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. We have 3 different teams. Nobody knows what's going to happen. That's what I love about it.
That's the fun thing about playoffs when you don't have a juggernaut like the Heat a few years ago or the Warriors. Even sooner than that.
I love how every team is like even in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's not one team that's gonna win it all against.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. I'll text you boys when the champion is crowned this summer. But anyway, I think that's everything we wanted to hash out today for our last episode.
Should we briefly mention the other sports real quick?
Do you want to just go on a little rant about the NHL? Ryan and I have
we don't know
NHL,
but Jordan
NHL.
does, and he's our hockey guy.
I don't. Game 1 to me was so exciting, and it was so fun to watch
for the Rangers.
The Rangers, but I was so mad that we ended up losing because it was triple overtime. Igor Shesterkin, 79 saves, and we still lose. I think what we got to do for Game 2 tonight is get our passes better, to slow down. We came with a lot of pace and intensity for the first period in Game 1. And then we kind of just died out for the remainder of the game. If we can just not slowly, but like progress and just keep the same momentum from periods 1 to periods 3, and hopefully it doesn't go into overtime because I don't want to watch a 5-hour game tonight. But I'm very confident in Igor. I think Igor is the best goalie. He's the best in save percentage and goals allowed. So he is our number 1 guy. I just don't want what happened to Henrik Lundqvist to happen with Igor. I think Igor, it's early in his career, but he definitely deserves a Stanley Cup. It would be amazing if the Rangers could win the Stanley Cup this year, but we'll just take it one game at a time and one shift at a time.
Do you think Rangers have it? They can win it all?
Rangers could win it all.
Who's the favorite? Because I know Tampa Bay is one of the past.
Tampa Bay, Colorado Avalanche Colorado Avalanche won the first game 6-1. I'm pretty sure, and they were up 5-0 after period 1 against Nashville.
Wow.
So I think any team can win. In hockey, especially, you don't really know like one team out of the gate. The Rangers are young. It was last night's game, or the other night's game was probably the first playoff game for all these like young players. So they just need to gain experience, and hopefully we can just win one game and just take it from there.
Yeah.
Perfect. I might have to check that out tonight.
Yeah,
I
know.
I'm not a hockey fan, but I might have to educate myself because it seems exciting.
Yeah, it does.
Because Wisconsin doesn't have a single hockey team. It's crazy. No NHL team for us.
Up north there too.
Yeah. Do we have the Minnesota Wild, the Chicago Blackhawks, and Wisconsin's just like
no.
We have, we have the equivalent of like a minor league team, or like a AA, not even AAA, a AA team. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And just to briefly touch on baseball here, Yankees. I mean, they lost last night. But
Yeah, 11-game win streak. That's
11
insane,
game
though.
win streak.
That's insane.
They were doing real nice. They're still doing real nice. Like one loss is
Best
not
team in
gonna.
the league probably right now.
Right now they have the best team, the best record, and the Mets are second, I believe.
That's crazy.
But
2 New York teams.
yeah, I know, which is great.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Subway Series World
Subway
Series.
Series,
That would be
World Series
crazy.
would be awesome. Yeah.
But and the other two divisions are the two LA teams. I think this is the first time that both New York and LA teams are in front. Is that right?
Yeah.
In the leading the divisions. I think that's what I saw.
It's exciting.
Which it's just great. But all I wanted to say was that I love the Yankees being really good right now, and I'd love to see a Subway Series against the Mets in the World Series. That'd be great.
That'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah.
My final take on the Rangers is that the Garden has to be rocking tonight. It can't be like game 1 when the fans were silent after the first period. We need to be consistently going crazy in the Garden, give the Rangers momentum. Hopefully we can tie up the series.
Yeah.
Let's go
Well, you know
Rangers.
what? Let's go Rangers, man.
Yeah.
If I had to choose another, I like the Buffalo Sabres because my mom's from Buffalo, but I like the New York Rangers now because I'm rooting for you, Jordan. I got you.
We're with you here.
We're with you, bro. So I think that's everything we wanted to talk about today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the last day of
Last
our
episode this
last
semester.
episode. Yeah, last
It's
day
been
of our
fun.
sports
It has
chat
been.
series. It's the last dance. No, it's
Thanks
been
for
fun.
tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, we continue it next semester or if our schedule allows. But as always, it's Ethan, Ryan, Jordan, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in this
Thank
semester.
you.
Cheers.